Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Now, you guys know I love talking about mindset, right? But I want to do so in a way where it puts things into a different perspective for you. So that way, if you're somebody that is having a hard time with thinking about things that they're grateful for, or let's just say you're always negative, I'm going to really help you guys out in today's episode because it's all going to be a big perspective shift on how you view things and how you look at things. And I always say it like this. It's just like there's always going to be two different perspectives on how you view things. Somebody could view things from a place of, a heart filled with gratitude, or somebody could be viewing things with more so hate. So let's talk about something as far as, let's say, paying the bills, right? Everybody has to pay the bills. Car insurance, mortgage, taxes, right? Like all these different things. So it's just like you have to pay the bills. Everybody does. Now, I know for a fact that me back in the day, I would pay the bills and I would just hate doing it. Hate paying into taxes, hate paying, different kind of car insurance, whatnot, and mortgage and whatnot. But it wasn't until I really started focusing on my mindset and really diving into, okay, how can we start viewing things differently? Instead of me, paying away a mortgage every single month, and thinking to myself like, man, I got to pay all this money. I hate it. I could take a step back and simply say, well, you know what? I live in a great house, a very safe community, great school, district for when my son grows older. I love the neighbors that's all around me. Like, I'm happy to live here. And sure, I have to pay this mortgage, but I'm happy. I'm blessed. So I'm going to submit over this mortgage payment from a heart place of gratitude rather than being negative, rather than being, hateful, like, oh man, I got to pay all this, right? Same thing like with taxes. I don't like paying into taxes. I don't know many people that do like paying into taxes, but at the end of the day, hey, I'm happy to have a business. I'm happy to, provide and help out others. And that means even paying back into Uncle Sam's pocket, But hey, he's able to give me the life that I truly want for myself and for my family. So it's a trade-off, And it's just one of these things where I can look at paying into taxes and just be despiteful, hateful, right? And all that's going to do is ruin my day. Plain and simple. It's not like it's going to change the situation at hand. It's like, oh man, like I hate paying these taxes. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to, boycott paying taxes. It's like, well, that ain't going to be a lot of fun when the IRS comes knocking on my door, Like I don't want to go through all the hassle. So I'd rather just take a step back. And this is what we really like to coach and teach our, clients at Heartletics about is, how do you build upon the 4 pillars of success? Your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual. And like this one, it goes more so with the emotional driver, where it's like, hey, how can I do something that I don't want to do or don't like doing, but how can I put a little twist on it? How can I have a different perspective shift to make it a little bit easier for myself, but also make me stronger and better out in the end? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's just like, hey, if you hate paying your mortgage, you probably hate, giving donations and charities out to help out those in need. You probably hate tithing to your church if you tithe to a church. You probably hate spending money on food and buying this and buying that, right? How you do one thing is how you do everything once again. So I want to challenge you guys. And this is what we like to coach and teach our members on is don't respond and don't react. Take a step back and observe. Steve Jobs has a great quote and I absolutely love it. And that's, you can't connect the dots looking forward in life. You can only connect the dots looking backwards in life. And sometimes you're probably wondering, like, what does that have to do with paying the bills? What does that do with paying the mortgage? Well, think about it. If you can focus on more observing the situation, and instead of responding and reacting like, oh man, it's first of the month or end of the month and I got to pay all these bills, think about it. Like, hey, I'm happy to pay these bills. I'm blessed to have enough money put aside to pay these bills and put money into this. It's going to make things a lot easier for you down the road, especially when it comes to putting investments into other things, And one thing that I really was thinking about as, I'm getting ready to record today's episode was What if something drastic happens to somebody? You know, maybe it's like they lose their job. Maybe it's like, an injury or a sickness. And it's one of those things about like, can you still have that different perspective shift of observing the situation at hand and not putting your negative emotions intact with it? I talk about emotions all the time, and I'm one of those people, right? Where it's like, I'd rather look at the situation as the glass being half full rather than half empty. I like being that optimistic person where I'm always looking into the positive side of things. And it's hard, especially if something drastic happens. Like, let's say you lose your job, or let's say you get an injury or a sickness, whatever the case may be. In that moment, it's very difficult to stay positive. But if you start building upon these small wins, right? Like, hey, I'm going to start paying my mortgage and do so out of a place of happiness because I'm more grateful for the fact that I have this home that I can afford. Or, hey, I'm going to start doing this. And, as I'm doing this small little thing, I'm going to do it from a happy heart. So that way you're kind of training your mind and training your brain, so to speak, when things happen to you that you don't necessarily like or agree with, like paying your mortgage or, paying into taxes, whatever the case may be. When life throws you these big curveballs, it's a little bit easier to not get so negatively inclined to those emotions. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. Trust me. It's a practice. You have to build upon it, just like working on a muscle. It's going to take some repetition. But hear me out. Back to this quote, right, from Steve Jobs. You can't connect the dots looking forward in life. You can only connect the dots looking backwards in life. Well, let's just say you lost your job, or you get a sickness, or you get an injury. Once again, in that present moment, right, of that time frame happening, it's probably not the best feeling in the world. But if you're responding and you're reacting, yeah, you're going off emotions. And I like to challenge people to just take a step back and observe. So what if, let's just say, hey, there's two types of people. Let's say they work the same job and they both lost their job. Let's just say it like that. John decides to just say, hey, there's nothing I can do, right? Times are tough right now. They let me go. I'm happy that I was able to at least provide for them a service and help them out. Hey, it is what it is. I'll find a new job. I'll try to be optimistic. I'll try to be more positive in the midst of this negative situation, right? It is what it is. I got my health. I got my family. We'll be okay. We'll do what we have to do. And then you have Tim. Tim loses his job and just blows a fit, right? He's angry, he's upset, he's mad, he's flipping tables around, like just completely pissed off, right? Well, what if, let's just say, a few months down the road, John, who is more optimistic, decided to be more positive in the situation. So, hey, I get more time at home with my family now. I get more time with my, doing the things that I want to do. And I'm just going to stay positive. Look at the glass being half full rather than half empty. What if John, a few months down the road, gets a better job, down the road? What if, somebody reaches out to him and offers him a job? And let's say that position that he's working at now, that new career, he's making more money, he's happier, better, hours, everything like that. He's going to be thinking about down the road and looking back and saying, I'm really happy I lost my job. I'm really happy I lost my job. And that goes back to that quote from Steve Jobs. Sometimes you can't connect the dots looking forward in life. You can only connect the dots looking backwards in life. So maybe it's an illness. Same thing. How are you going to look at that? You can view an illness. Let's say you're sick, right? You can't really do much. You can't go work out. You don't have the appetite to eat healthy and whatnot. And it's just like you're feeling just like crap. Well, maybe that's an opportunity for you to focus on something else. Like maybe it's something with your mindset or something else, whatever the case may be, where you can make your weakness more of a sort of a strength. So that way when you're over with the illness, you can then come back and you're 10 times even better, Same thing with an injury. Like let's say you injure your ankle and you can't really, do much with your legs, but maybe this is an opportunity to focus now on more of the nutrition side of things. So that way when your ankle heals up and you're back to working out and, getting your steps in, you're even better than who you were before because you were able to double down on the nutrition. So it just kind of goes to show you that at the end of the day, your perspective of life and how you view things, that's like the biggest thing. And there's a quote out there that is, life is 10% on what happens to you, 90% on how you react to it. So how do you get the better end of the deal here? How do you do things from more of a heart place filled with gratitude? One, don't ever say you have to do something. Two, get to say you get to do something. And three, don't respond, don't react. Just take a step back and observe the situation. And you got to have that faith. You got to have that trust, that unshakable confidence, knowing that at the end of the day, hey, it's all going to work out in your favor regardless. So it's like, yeah, you're looking at the glass half full. Maybe when one door closes, a better opportunity, right? A better door opens up that maybe you just can't see, especially if you're filled with just, hate, anger, all that stuff that we talk about. And in this emotional, vibrational plane, I always like to educate guys like, hey, try your best to be positive. In the midst of a negative situation, try your best to be positive, because you really can't control anything in this life. You can't. You can't control your job. You can't control the weather. You can't control your own health. You can't even control. There's very little things that you can control. You can't control your family. You can't control anything, right? You can't control the stock market. You can't control the government. You can't control anything. But you know what you are always in control over? Your thoughts, your emotions. And it's a perspective shift on how you view things differently. And that's why I really like the book by Dr. Vincent Norman Peale about, man's search for meaning. And it brings gratitude in such a great light, right, on how you view things differently. And it's a great book to read. But at the end of the day, just realize this. There's always going to be two types of perspectives. You can either look at a situation despite how, in that time frame, how negative it might be, and you can pour a bunch of negative emotions into it, or just, hey, try to calm down, let the emotions cool down, don't get so angry, don't get so hateful over the situation, and just instead of responding, instead of reacting, just take a step back, breathe, and really just focus on observing the situation. And this is why, my friends, I love focusing on meditation also, because it really helps you get more inclined with yourself, more in tune, I should say. And you focus on that breath work, where it's just like, hey, if something happens to you, it's okay. Breathe. Focus on that breath work. And that can really help you out. Just view things differently. And once again, it's not going to be easy. It's not like this is going to be a huge shift that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take practice. But the more practice and, you put forth into it, the easier it's going to get overall. So hopefully you guys got a perspective shift. Next time when it comes to paying the bills or paying your mortgage or paying into taxes or anything like that, hey, be grateful. Be grateful that you get to do that. Be grateful, hey, you have a house, right, to pay the mortgage for. Just different way to view things differently. That's all. Hopefully you guys got some value from today's episode. As always, this is Coach Joe with the Heart Athletics Podcast. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.